I'm so excited to introduce each of these writers. Their work means so much to me. I should say your work, looking at all of your beautiful faces. And your work is an evidence of how writers and artists lead us, especially right now. Writers and artists whose strengths and preservation are inseparable from the very fragile nature of writing. And so I want to thank you, each of you, for writing, for being here and sharing a bit of your work with us. The first reader is Abby. I'm going to read your bio here. Abby Polikoff is a Seattle-based writer and book artist with work in Denver Quarterly, Foundry, Poetry Northwest, and Black Warrior Review, among others. She has held fellowships or residencies with the Hugo House, the Seattle Review of Books, and more. Abby is the events manager for Open Books, a poem emporium, the managing editor for Poetry Northwest Editions, and a content director in visual communications. She received her MFA from the University of Washington. Find her at abbypolikoff.com. Thank you so much for reading for us, Abby.
Thank you so much, EJ, and everyone. It's such a treat to be here and a huge honor to be starting off not just tonight, but all of the readings for this cohort. I'm a little nervous, but it's been such a joy. I want to start with a couple of thank yous to Jack Straw for all of the resources that you've been providing us in the past couple months and onwards, and just this amazing opportunity, as well as EJ for curating and bringing us all together. And to my fellow writers, I find you all so inspiring and driven and amazing self-advocates for your work in ways that I am continuing to learn from. So it's been a real joy to get to know you over the past couple months, and I'm looking forward to more. And one last thank you, which is to all of you in the virtual audience tonight for being here in a time when community often feels really far away. Tonight makes it that much closer. So thank you so much, everyone. I am going to read some poems from my Jack Straw project, which has been revisions to a manuscript I've been working on for a little bit of time now. It is a feminist eco-poetic, so a collection of work focusing on the experience of the woman body, particularly through explorations of nature and language. And throughout this manuscript, I have these little fragments, these little mythlets, I'm calling them, that punctuate in between poems, let you kind of dive in and dive out again of the full narrative of the story. And I compiled them into one body for the manuscript or for the anthology. And I wanted to kind of break them open a little bit and punctuate different poems and kind of pull a different story together. So I hope you'll experiment with me tonight as we go on this journey. And without much further ado, I will dive in. Cross your legs, uncross your legs. Cross your legs, uncross your legs. Cross your legs, uncross your legs. Sit still and say hello. The stiller, the louder. Cross your legs, uncross your legs. Cross your legs, uncross your legs. Cross your legs, uncross your legs. Don't be cross, no wonder. The ankle sits in such a curved question mark. Me greater or less than. Cross your legs, uncross your legs. Cross your legs, uncross your legs. Cross your legs, uncross your legs. Tell yourself, stand up. Eat the plum and spit the pits. Slip and stick them under toes to sprout. Cross your legs, uncross your legs. Cross your legs, uncross your legs. Cross your legs, uncross your... These withered appendages, all dried up and prickling. No toe touch, towing the legs along these particular reminders. When dusty purple fruits breathe in the sunsets and smog of their cityscapes, that's the answer. Stems twining up splintering poles and fence posts and abandoned pianos is gesture of hurry and freeze. Who makes this body what it is? What makes this body what it's made of? is question of record and fist and pluck and palm and squeeze and pluck and skip and ooze. With such silhouettes, what gets left when lights enter the room? Their bursted juices all over an unsuspecting wrist. All over city corners, stretch, hold, hurry. Veins vine a map of smoke and defiance, throats in yellow light. Flick away dust from the skin you've seen before, unbidden orbits, the body wrapped and unwrapped, the body frozen in its glassy musics. It's not a question of streets or piano keys. It's not a question to fill veins with feathers. And wrapped and unwrapped. When these wrappings strip themselves into collage of gummed muscle, merrily melting into pinking bone, here's a question. Is the body swallowed in fabric to hide or to hold it? Along the fence line, the headiness of plums, in shadow, in recline. Lean into it. Intertwine vines like veins, like chain link on the backs of the hands. To hold hands to themselves, keep them hidden. To breathe, keep lungs taut and trembling. To hurry, to freeze. Along these synaptic passages, a living rock. The one that laughs in the light. The one that's pushed into furrow when plowed. Cross your legs, uncross your legs. Cross your legs, uncross your legs. Cross your legs, uncross your legs. Be tree, be grass, be rock. These synaptic passages reveal certain digital deaths, sprouting into chromatic isotopes. Wrists all blue chromed in low neon light. Throat. Spine spindled down to conjunction of rings and time. These synaptic passages reveal certain binary clefts, certain doctrines of cellular isthmus, ecstatic uncoupling, cross uncross, cross uncross, name yourself something spring, cross. Seed, uncross, and seedling, cross uncross, bloomling and bloom. A long vulnerability of paper and consciousness. And this is a found poem, meaning that the words have been compiled from other sources. The shape you're in, projected interchangeably back to body. At once authentic and suspended. Palms like the radiant taste of granite dust. Mouth like the tunnel committed to narrative. The throat, steel-ribbed vastness. Run-on sentences based in witness. Break open these simultaneous roles, this concept. Logistically, it is a kind of spandex language. Mouth with their mists of my self-making, throat cut with fragrance, palms this edge of please, of nothing, hands in old silk. Every day we are told to fear our name, the first compass. Translate the canvas back to words as they seek new syntaxes, prosperous together. Each generation has music, a degree of glass that digs into starker image. The played domain is aerial, the personal space, 100 palms falling. Cross your legs, uncross your legs, cross your legs, uncross your legs, cross your legs, uncross your legs, look up and shh. Prim-jawed and tongueless, tight-shinned and kickless, slack-palmed and slapless, little hollow hands grafting pixel to shadow. Shadow as in stripe, as in rib, as in ridge, as in furrow, as in brow, as in cool-clothed and trembling, as in all the revel,
all the reveal. Cross your legs, uncross your legs, cross your legs, uncross your legs, cross your legs, uncross your legs. Shadow as in tremor, as in electric treble, a slight shaking, movement, nervousness, or excitement, a slight quake. To live in ignorance is exactly what? An ageless geography, this dizzying Sisyphus that defines the tremor of knots and water. At the wrist, a turning away. At the knee, a slip toward the ankle. Tide corroded by its own salt into tangled drip light. The glinting, the glinting, the glinting, oh, the lily golden against the day and what's hungered. Against the birch-hymned absence shorn of breath and bismuth. For the wrist pressed into compass glass, crystal dinging with what's lost. For the excess of plums and the gulls that tear the tender flesh. For the vining into abdication. There's nothing here to covet. Of what's been asked across the oscillating apps, across the edge of synapse, which question is the one to strain? All strung out in axes, asp and aspen both sense the same direction. Cross your legs, uncross your legs, cross your legs, uncross your legs, cross your legs, uncross your legs. Along these synaptic passages, a little light. A little light never did. A little light never did anyone anything good, except, perhaps, the plum tree. With or without these luminosities, no orchard's complete without a body to plumb, legs to kick, cross on cross, hands or branches. Along these synaptic passages, a weak signal hello. Cross your legs, uncross your legs. A quick electrical fix, cross your, uncross your. The dripping drive to move something, legs, silky tendons, or think. Standard practice. The meshed emblem I place into its own weaknesses, my weakness, my mug, my tea, my plums husky above the lavender, skeins dissembling into scented mesh, scenting every chain link fence with ritual and weeping skin wrung beside gulls and velvet ritual of swarm and stretch of dismay, of every tea-stained missive scent, everywhere slendering the knee, its apostrophes, its steamed glass seeping out of courtesy and a casemate. For desire, for the space between wrists, for lilies mottled at the throat and wearing themselves slender where birch skins accumulate into feathers, into apostrophes filling the husks of abandoned pianos. The repetitions dusty and littered with lilies, with little rituals, with lavender juices, plum light and faltering over, skins and birches buried up to the throat, the emblem meshing and breath caught, breaching and beseech it falling across dusty light, beseech it falling across the knee and all its soft things, beseech the mesh and the throat and its practical breezes, its ravenous rituals, beseech it, and its every weaknesses. Cross your legs, uncross your legs. Cross your legs, uncross your legs. Cross your legs, uncross your legs. Salt gulled into quick electrical synapse. Dry light and crystalled. Cross your legs, uncross your legs. Dried out or prickling along these synaptic passages. Salt's not a touchstone for a long season. We give things our names along these synaptic passages to understand them better. Cross. Along these synaptic passages, How many spines uncross are not our spines, cross. Skins uncross. Eyes. How many necks not ours? The bottle, the body of water. Thank you.
Woo!
Thank you, Abby.
Thank you, Abby.
Thank you, Abby.
Takes a little second to unmute and do the big response, but thank you for that reading. Ever since I first read the line, ankle sits in such a curved question mark. I think I was thinking about that line the other day. I'm walking around in my slippers and I keep seeing question marks at my feet. And your writing just has this element of imprinting itself almost as if it's my own memory. And so I really just appreciate the whole piece, all the works together. It's who makes this body what it is, a slip toward the ankle, at the wrist, a turning away. And so thank you for taking us through your words and this beautiful poetics. I'm really excited to introduce our next reader. See if you're ready. I'm gonna go ahead here. C.R. Glasgow is a non-binary, queer, first-generation Afro-Caribbean. Doc serves as writer, psychologist, spiritual creative, and public speaker. Doc has been writing since 7 years old, beginning with poetry. Doc won the NYC Borough President's Award at the age of 10. Doc's creative offerings compel the audience to feel the inseparability of composer and audience through time-bending, arresting imagery, daring questioning, bold answers, and abstract glimpses of the mundane. Previous publications include Butch is Not a Dirty Word, Issue 6, These Roots, the Arrow Journal, Conception, and upcoming pieces in anthologies Refuge in the Storm, Voices in Buddhist Crisis Care, and African Wisdom, New Voices Speak Black Liberation, Buddhism, and Beyond. It's such an honor to introduce you, and thank you for reading for us tonight.
Thank you for having me. What an honor to be here this evening and just to be in a community of writers, both those that I can see and those that I know that are watching. There's something about a family of writers that really tells the story of the times. Thank you, Jack Straw. Thank you, EJ, for just holding space, providing container and a vessel for this time. And thank you to my family who unknowingly or not shared stories throughout my lifetime. And to my partner and friends who have allowed and supported space for this writing to happen, even under these times and conditions. So the excerpts that I'm going to read today, all pieces are part of series in and of themselves, and all series are part of a larger body of work that aims to serve in and of itself as a rite of passage, highlighting lessons and stories from a queer Caribbean perspective. So you will, if you read more, hear hints from Trinidad, from Haiti, and from the in-between. And my inspiration for this work is that many of my family members are passing on. I was blessed to live in an intergenerational home, so living with my great-grandmother down to myself being the youngest. And there's something that happens in that space when you're with so many generations of people telling stories, pausing stories. Maybe you hear the end of stories later on, 10 years later in your life, and you're rewriting and reconnecting. All of them are salient to the times now. They're timeless. So really feel compelled in this time, especially when many people are losing many people, that we need these connections and to know that they're here now. So without further ado. The first is from a series called Pandemic 12. Be like tomato, poison the wealthy, nourishment for the poor. Travel by wind, create your own seed, without suitor or dowry, alone by the sun of midday. Be like amaranth, the ones that do not wither for 40 days on its own substance, 40 days kissing the clouds, scorched by the sun, burn bright in gold, purple, and red. Offer yourself to the gods. The second comes from a series called Inner Child Dialogues. The title of this poem is sourced from a list of questions that came at the end of Crick Crack by Edwige Danticat. And this one is titled, If We Were Painters, Which Landscapes Would We Paint? Spaciousness. Rolled on blue-black canvas, so your mark is always light. Have your palette full, hues of nature as guide and Simon. Risk the stroke without guide of pencil, image, or conjurer of another. This is yours. Stare boldly in its eyes and mimic the lines of its locks. Turn it inside out. Etch the veins and arteries. Make bright the shadows. Let the paint find patterns on your face. Allow what arises first to be enough. For inhale and exhale, inhale and exhale, laugh at your reflection and bring that to the canvas. Rinse each experience fully from the brush. Start anew. There's no mistake. No way. Stroke over and over the same spot till it is blue-black. Trust you will know when to pause, when to highlight, to highlight, to highlight, to highlight. Know you can paint across time. If you listen, all our mothers sing on tune, vibrating the brush. And my last piece for this evening is in dedication to the lineage of women who have raised me. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I may start crying. Granny's 4. Granny sails alone, a teen by boat. Legs spread for her by some unwanted, familiar old, darkness eclipse, a veiled birth, seeing realms beyond, child of the pandemic. She said, just one photo. Sumo-sized little man with violet eyes. A quick last snap. Flash. followed by a quick snip. Child gone too soon. Another followed. Auntie's breath gasped. Months of adolescence encased in sterile white walls, shining against her crimson highlight. Child of the institution. The world powers feuded a second time. Ration cards, sacks filled to the brim once. And Auntie's eyes beamed joys of deflated balloon and noisemaker. Child of war. She thought that was her last. The mom tottered in. Pistol and machete, greased brown bag rolled in 2-year-old fists. Abandoned. Shadow child. Thank you so much for your time.
Dixie.
Yay!
Thank you.
Oh, see, thank you so much. I still remember our interview that we almost went over time continuously because we couldn't stop talking about dreams in life and the things we've received. And I was thinking, oh, I want to just keep going. But there's this thing you said, it's always stayed with me, is how when you came to Seattle, you thought, wow, the trees here are just so loud. They never stop. They're just going. And I think I've told that to at least 5 people now. What you've told me is now I walk around, we walk around because we're trapped. So every day, and I listen to trees, and I just think that is so, and these words, allow what arises first to be enough. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I feel like it can be pretentious to say this about someone's work, but I truly feel your work is so generous. There is such incredible generosity, and I mean it. So thank you so much. And I hope we can chat again soon because I want to continue our conversations. So thank you.
100%. Thank you.
Our next reader is Paulette. Paulette Perhach is an award-winning writer and writing coach. Her work has been in the New York Times, Slate, The Journal, McSweeney's Internet Tendency, and Vice. She's best known for writing the globally viral essay, A Story of a Fuck-Off Fund, and for her book, Welcome to the Writer's Life, which Poets and Writers selected for its list of best books for writers. She continues the conversation at welcometotherwriterslife.com. You can write with her every morning through her meditation and free writing group called A Very Important Meeting by signing up at averyimportantmeeting.com. What a great name for your meeting. Thank you, Paulette.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm really honored to be especially selected by EJ, who I am such a fan of your work, and really appreciate all the resources from Jack Straw. It is almost confusing to be supported when we're in a society that so does not support artists. I'm like, I get to come in and you guys are going to teach me things, and this is amazing. So really appreciated it. My project is an experiment with form where I wanted to relay the experience of anxiety. I am a mostly chipper writer who also suffers from anxiety disorder. So I always joke that I don't mess around with the middle space. I'm either like super peppy cheerleader Pollyanna mode, or I'm like in the pit of despair. So I experimented a little bit with this idea of circular thoughts. And so my piece is called Dark Circles. And they were written, if you get the anthology from Open Books, it's turned 90 degrees and it goes all around the page. So they're designed to really be read. They can be read around and around. And it's actually, I realized I can cut them out. And I made Mobius strips and I connected them all. And it actually kind of looked like a little brain. And I just loved that. It's just really about these circular thoughts that go around and around. And and there's as much of an argument for something as against it, and you tell yourself to shut up, and then it just comes back, and it's just this experience. So this is a little bit of what it feels like to hang out in my mind at 3 a.m. And yeah, so I will just go. So each piece stands alone. So I'll just take a little bit of a pause in between, but you'll kind of understand they're all the same. They're all the same length. So this is Dark Circles. Why do you live so far from your mother? She asked, standing next to hers. I left the warmth of home to be the woman I thought I could only be while worshiping the wind of possibility. After a while, warmth suffocates. Wind chills. Is it warmth or wind I want on my skin? No one knows me like my old friends. They've been there for everything. They know all there is to me. They make me want to spend the night. No one knows me like my old friends. They've seen too much. They know who I am. They make me want to run away. My chest heavy, lost. I pass a woman with a stroller. Look at her, I think, so familyed up. Even if I were her, I know I'd still be me. Look at her, I'd think of me, so free. I, who must press her nose against the window, would simply have it pushed up to the other side of the glass. The moment you stop looking for it, you'll find it. The moment you gouge your eyes out and your heart. I've tried in so many ways. Where the fuck is my serendipity? So try then. Buy a new vase for the wilting flower. But how much worse to chase what might elude you anyway? This is fine. The laptop on a pillow, spine of open books, warm skin against my skin, forget it. Put your feelings in a box, put the box in a bag, throw the bag in a river. Be happy no one slaps you. No one drags you by your hair. Live this for her, for how your freedom would feel. I can make this work. It's all I have. It reminds me of the time while camping, I had only 4 thin blankets. I cobbled them together, but the pile kept sliding, revealing itself as parts, a mere semblance of what I needed. One blanket of substance to stop the chill. You should trust the universe. This universe of machetes and fists and hands clamping mouths. The universe has given you so much. I know. Sounds like it would be nice to trust it. But how can I trust the dog that licks my hand when its breath reeks of so much blood? Just open the door. Walk into the room where your baby awaits. Feed her from you and let her touch you with her tiny, crushable fingers. Precious little rib spreader. Give the unspeakable a clear shot. Or pull down your shirt, take 2 steps back, and run. I should tell people how it feels in here. Perhaps it will free me from it. Make a pressure release valve of my lips. Or perhaps it will mar me with it. Simply provide fodder for the next 3 a.m. round. Speak the person I wish I weren't into being. Another cell, 1 in 7 billion, after 13 odd billion years, agonizes over the ash. It's natural. My life doesn't matter. How humiliating to be stuck in this meat bubble. I care, I care, I care. I care how this dumb little story goes. Of course I care. You did it, evolution. Thank you.
Woo!
Oh, thank you, Paulette. I could have listened to a lot more. I was like, come on, let's get a little more going. But it's so great to give us a bit of that. And I just want to urge everyone to really pick up that anthology, to appreciate sort of what Paulette's doing and talking about when she's writing on a Mobius strip. Like, that's just so phenomenal and incredible, and might be stolen soon by somebody, not me. But that's I'm so used to reading it on the page and hearing you read it out loud and do things with your voice that I wasn't expecting there's this rehearsal performative moment, and the questions like, why do you live so far away from your mom? So, I'm weeping already. And then look at this woman with a stroller, which is just, it's so alarming. Every moment seems to create a scene instantaneously in my mind, and I'm just with it. So thank you for that, and the crushable fingers, and so much more.
Thank you, EJ.
Right. This is our last reader already. I'm like looking at the time. Patrycja Humienik, daughter of Polish immigrants, is a writer and performer based in Seattle, Washington. Her poetry is featured forthcoming in Passages North, Poetry Northwest, Redivider, Four-Way Review, Sporklet, Guest House, and elsewhere. Patrycja works in the University of Washington's Office of Equity and Justice in graduate programs and serves as events director for the Seventh Wave and assistant poetry editor for Newfound. Thank you so much for reading with us tonight, Patrycja. I'm so excited to hear your work.
Thank you. Thanks so much, everybody, for having me. Thank you, EJ, for hosting tonight. Thank you to Jack Straw. This program has been such a treat, even with the challenges of our current moment. I'm grateful for this cohort and everyone who read tonight. Thanks, everybody tuning in from elsewhere. Please know that there are more readings from our cohort every Friday at this time for the month. So shout out to everyone in the audience, and so glad to be here. EJ mentioned in my bio some of the journals that I also just want to thank. Some of the poems that I'm reading tonight are forthcoming or were just published in those journals. And then, of course, the anthology, I'm reading a few poems from our great anthology that you can get at Open Books here in Seattle. So without further ado, I will read some poems for you. And I'm having some computer fan issues. Can people hear me all right? Awesome. Great. The first poem I'll read is the title poem from my in progress first book called Anchor Baby. And it is very much a work in progress, but part of my project for Jack Straw. And after that, I'll read a couple more poems from the anthology before reading you some other work in progress. Anchor Baby. I keep close the intonation of my name, spoken in my mother's voice. There was a time I let people mispronounce it. I don't remember the sound of my grandfather's voice. I've lost the word for the flower I could be, impatient blossom. Used to never wear lipstick, now I smear shades of azalea on my lips. I kiss everything, I leave a mark. Invocation, as in a prayer I want,
to repeat, the physicality of it, prayer, kissing, echoes of a younger me, trying to be approved of. I'm not saying I am better now. I look up how to say anchor in my first language. Once I didn't need to search. Kotwica. My mama gave birth to me a month after my parents arrived in the States. Nie mówiła wtedy po angielsku. It was her first time on a plane. I know nothing of ground, of letting the ship sleep. I fly for hours to visit. If I could bind myself to a place, put cut flowers in a vase, I would thank my mother that way. Instead, I pour the petals out. Continental Drift. I leave a place to return to a change in light, temperature, mind. No matter how nagging the call, we are made greater by flight. And isn't greatness something to fear? Opposites tug forever at my limbs, each continent of desire drifting, no fracturing, not quite bone, not quite land, salt. Pulled smooth from crooked teeth in every, ask someone to say my name again. Feel the name shaped new in a lover's mouth, in a stranger's mouth, the rapture, less contained. No, it's nothing, like a continent, chasm in probable time. The hours a letter sealed, address to self, devotion I open. I found a lover and we left the city, temporarily. Crackle of the fire said as much. Temple into the sprawl of limbs which came later, first. The alchemists. Oysters we ate quietly as we could, laughing, not saying a word, eyes full of language. And it wasn't that no one had ever touched me before, but it had never been like this, tunnelless. Not a search for a prize, zippered pearl to coax out of grieving. Not the scarcity of hardship or the dismissal of it, but we did look up, air glow, sky a cicatrix, purpling, paler, damage, and the need to undo it, not to fix, but to unribbon the past. My mama grew up in a rural place, rolling hills of jade. My name betrayed her wish to leave that lack. Szlachetnie urodzona, desire for wealth and its associated ease. I don't blame her for using a name like a tool for weeding. I too prune and tug at my story, but she wanted me to live up to my name, and for that I might blame her. I learn other names, plants that please me, forsythia, hyacinth, pyracantha, my lover, gives me a dried bouquet. I prefer weeping, willow, even seaweed, something of water. I want not to say this, but to be understood with my eyes, the way I was for a moment by the fire. But some lovers are not for lasting, though that part comes later. If I, must I tell the truth? Those poems are among the 5 in the anthology. And the next poem is from a series of night poems with a character called Night. Cargo. Night arrives at the door with a lidded platter of chocolate chip cookies, vegan since you can't have dairy, unlaces their boots and sits across from me, responds to my raised, "How did you find me in the woods?" eyebrows. I knew you'd be here trying to clear your head, crossing and uncrossing their limbs, hair spiraling up toward the ceiling as they stand to stretch, then down on the floor, telling me to come press my back against the ground. So I do, and we stare up where the paint cracks, the rafters making a triangle, I press my heels into the ground, feel my back rollicking into a momentary bridge to let invisible ships pass, then lower the arch, the lock, this fixed chamber, trying to lengthen, trying to will breath into recurring ache, the ships having taken their cargo elsewhere. I say, I don't want any more stuff. And night says, I know. And I'm crying, and we've got chocolate in our teeth. And when I wake, I'm alone again, not far from sea. I've got a bit of time left, so I'll read you a couple newer poems in progress. Tides. Where fresh water meets sea, gumweed and pickleweed sweat salt, the slough's a hunting ground for the heron who walks staccato, later glides over water with an ease I envy. Little birds whose names I don't know, their underbellies or wings marked by a shock of color, swoop and flutter. It is hot after weeks of cloud, weeks of Zoom, stomach, email, ears, ringing, safe at home, interrupted sleep, relentless mass death, scrolling. Disassociation is one way to survive. Twice daily, the estuary is flooded with salt at high tide, draining twice at low. Oh, tenderness, I'm walking toward you. Why are you pulling away? Obliteration. Page, blossom, chapel, say, suspend. Time, the flickering logic. Open your mouth, your palms, witness what hands won't hold. Softer, not the representation of. Floodplain. It isn't that the flood rids us of memory, no. It shapes memory. Like dough, cracks our knuckles. Across the Atlantic, my aunts and uncles rise early for the blessing later. Anoint tired, thirsty skin with oil after a day's work. That's elegance to me. Drought or torrent, someone works the land. Along the Pacific, someone picks fruit I know the name of. Don't you ever wish to stay in bed for days? Touch a deluge, eroding structure, toppling every monument, capacity for violence held. To try to contain anything is to rid it of water. Admit that. The water is rising. Finish it off with two short poems and just want to say thank you again to my incredible co-readers tonight, to Jack Straw. It's really such a gift to be a part of this cohort and have community in these times. So short ones left for you. I blow out the candle. Scent of amber, tobacco, Atlas cedar, rosewood, clove, the smoke curls into thinking, the thought takes your form by the river curling in a narrow ravine, the river, your sun-drunk body, my thinking, serpentine, cinching the waste of the world, invocation, the softest bell, echo under my tongue. For a moment, the water is still, but I can't stand it. I can't stand in it. It's too deep. Must my feelings always be so obvious? I suppose I could accept that longing has made a home of me. Acid reflux. Did it make a home inside your chest? What is the softest thing you've ever held hostage? At what age did you first hide your truest feeling? What feeling then eclipsed the truer one? Who did you blame? Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Patrycja. I'm so taken by everything you've read, and it was incredible to sort of see in the beginning those poems I feel more familiar with, and to see how your writing is, you're trying other things in these night poems and these last two poems too. It's so thrilling and exciting, and I feel like you have this whole breadth of writing before you. So I'm really excited to see the final thing altogether. And it's just been a joy and an honor to follow your work. I feel like there's such a sense of truth telling, and it feels right that we end on the question of what's truer. And I just couldn't help but notice how much we cross over in our reading tonight with the cross and uncrossing the legs, and how all the words sort of have this relationship with each other. So thank you so much. Also, I don't eat oysters very quietly, but I love that. I love that eating the oysters as quietly as we could. I should try doing that. Thank you so much, Patrycja.